All right, a little more expect the arraignment for the Idaho College murder suspect, Bryan Kohberger. He'll be back in court. He was indicted by a grand jury last week on 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary in connection to the killing of the 4 University of Idaho students. Prosecutors took the case against him before a grand jury instead of going through with that preliminary hearing that was set for next month. This morning, we expect Kohberger to enter a plea, either guilty or not guilty. In the past, he had said he was not responsible for their deaths. I want to bring in Joshua Ritter, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor and host of the True Crime Daily Sidebar podcast. I guess at this point, is there a chance that he will change his plea? What are we expecting?
I don't think there's any chance he changes his plea unless the prosecution takes the death penalty off the table. Now, they have not released a statement saying whether or not they are pursuing that, but this is, exactly the type of case that you would expect capital punishment. So with that on the table, he's going to take his chances at trial. And even if they take that off the table, I imagine that will only be a plea negotiating tool. So I'd expect him to plead not guilty this morning and head toward trial. Some
have asked, Joshua, why prosecutors opted for the grand jury in this case as opposed to the preliminary hearing. Now, what is the advantages of that for the prosecutors?
There's several advantages. One, it can be done at their leisure. They can call witnesses, convene for a couple of days, come back after taking a break. As long as the grand jury is still convened, they can take their time to do that. With the preliminary hearing, not so much. Also, it's secret, as you pointed out, so it's not going to be under the scrutiny of the media intrigue that follows this case. And there isn't the defense present. So even though the prosecution wears 2 hats to some extent and has to present some exculpatory evidence, they don't have to cross-examine witnesses. And so some of these witnesses that have shown some reluctancy to perhaps come forward before now would feel more comfortable knowing that they're not going to be subject to the scrutiny of cross-examination by a defense attorney.
So if you are the defense, Joshua, how are you strategizing next steps?
Well, this doesn't change things a whole bunch. It unfortunately puts them a little bit further behind the 8 ball than they already were. They're going to have to analyze the transcripts from the grand jury. They're going to start to receive more evidence in discovery from the prosecution. But I would expect them to still ask for more time and try to put the trial of this matter off as far as they can, given the gravity, the complexity, and really what's on the line for their client.
This will be most difficult for the families of the 4 young people who were killed. We have understood through some recent interviews that Steve Gonsalves, the father of Kaylee Gonsalves, wants to be present, wants to look Bryan Kohberger in the face. He recently spoke to my colleague, Ashley Banfield. Here's part of what he had to say.
I know on Monday, I won't be the only parent down there. There'll be other families there. And I think it's a moment of solidarity that we're getting more and more people active, and you got to give people time to figure out how they want to respond and how they're going to just wake up and deal with an everyday situation. But they're all starting to get their power and their strength, and they're all ready to go to court. And I think that courtroom's going to get more and more crowded.
Joshua, how do attorneys prepare families for what's ahead in a case like this?
It's so difficult. I mean, they're dealing with such a nightmare. Their lives have been turned upside down. I think you just try to, as the prosecution, keep them as informed as possible, letting them know every step of the way what to expect next, when they will hear more evidence. There's a pretty restrictive gag order in place in this case, and so their hands are tied to some extent. But I think you just try to be as transparent with them as possible, realizing that they're still dealing with this trauma and trying to heal in whatever way possible.
We don't know at this point all of the evidence that prosecutors have. It was enough for the grand jury to indict and move forward with the case. They did reveal in an affidavit that there is DNA evidence that they have. If that, in fact, ties him to the crime scene, is there any way the defense can dispute it?
It's a difficult case for the defense. I mean, just going through that affidavit, and the affidavit is just kind of a rough outline of the evidence that they have. I imagine that there's much more behind all of that. And just going off of that affidavit, there's a really strong circumstantial case tying him to these murders. As the defense, I don't know. I think that you're right, though, to point out that that DNA evidence is the biggest piece of evidence that they're going to have to deal with and somehow explain how his DNA ended up in that home, the same home that he's tied to through GPS and cell phones and other mechanisms that the police used. That really is the linchpin of this case as I see it right now.
That and a potential witness, right? One of the roommates who claims she saw him in the home. That will be critical to the prosecution's case.
Absolutely. Now, it was a kind of partial description, if you want to call it that, because the person was described as wearing a mask, but all other identifying markers match up with Kohberger. So you're absolutely right. There wasn't direct evidence of somebody actually witnessing the murder, but you got about as close as you could with somebody seeing him leave at the time that we believe that the deaths took place and being able to match his description.
It may be a game time decision, but something that they're obviously considering. Does the defense put Bryan Kohberger on the stand in trial? What do you think?
It's always the best question and always the hardest one to answer, because in a case like this, who knows, he might be left with no other opportunity but to explain his whereabouts that evening. There's no one else who can explain why he was in that area, why he was driving that vehicle, caught on videotape, why he fled, why he had any kind of connection to them beforehand. If they feel like they might be cornered and there's no other explanation to put him on the stand, perhaps. But again, remember, of all the decisions that his team can make as far as strategy, the decision to take the stand lies solely with him. So in a person like this, who appears to be, considers himself to be very intelligent, I wouldn't be surprised if he demands to take the stand himself.
All right. Well, this morning we will be watching for what he looks like and how he acts in court, and that will be happening here in the next hour or so. Joshua Ritter, as always, thank you for your time, and make sure to tune in